So today I want to talk about how no matter how hopeless the current sobriety battle might seem, that those who've gone on have tremendous success with it. We're all once in the same place. I always tried to keep that in mind as I listen to people with 1, 3, 5, 10, 20. I know a guy with 40 plus years, but they were all once in that daily misery and struggle and what I'm sure felt like a hopeless battle. And I want to talk about how I once felt exactly like that just 13 months ago. I'm now a week away from my 1 year soberversary. And, it was 13 months ago that it was feeling hopeless. I was losing the battle. The sale of my pizza shop had fallen through a month before. And it seemed possibly forever because of some issues with the lease. And I decided, I was just going to drink myself through that. And it was feeling really hopeless. And so, I thought I was going to take at least a couple days break when my shop was closed on a Monday, Tuesday. I went to my parents' house while they were on a cruise. And I planned to just catch up on some work, attend some sobriety calls. But before I knew it, I was feeling lonely, alone in a house. And I ended up drinking. And of course, it turned heavily that Monday as well as that Tuesday. And I woke up on Wednesday just so disheveled and beaten down. And I hadn't been sharing on sobriety calls for about a week because, again, I was so beaten down. I couldn't open my mouth. I knew I wasn't going to be able to open my mouth to share without crying. But at least I still kept attending meetings. And there was a woman who shared on a call on that Wednesday that essentially prompted me to share. She talked about how she hadn't seen the ocean since 2018. And that really got me going. So I raised my hand, kind of an out-of-body experience, just similar to one when we declared we aren't going to drink, and then we find ourselves going to the liquor store. Well, same thing. I couldn't believe I raised my hand. And as soon as I opened my mouth, sure enough, the tears started welling up. And so I said, I have not had fun, at least since I bought my pizza shop, which was over 4 years prior. It was prior to COVID. And I said, I haven't seen the ocean since at least 2018. The seasons just continually go by. I live in Massachusetts, right on the ocean, and I don't even see the friggin' ocean, and I got to get a life. And I know I can only do that if I stop drinking, if I stop giving in to that voice. And I mentioned having read a great quote recently that said, we have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one. And I also reference a quote that you have permission to disappoint others, and you're committed to stop disappointing yourself. Because of my pizza shop being such a people pleaser, I so stressed over every single little mistake. So, to get over disappointing my customers, I continually disappointed myself by drinking. As my coach said to me, Brian, your customers would not want you to lose your sobriety over simple mistakes. And so on that share, I said, I've got to get back to doing hard things. And that included sharing. And I vowed I was going to, get back to doing the work that I had essentially only been half-assing. And I vowed I was going to start putting my full ass into it. And the leader of that meeting, she said, committing to the work is the shift we get to embrace. And she acknowledged, loving what I said about that. We do get one life, it's not a dress rehearsal. And the sooner we recognize that, the sooner we can get down to business. And she did say to me, she said, I'm in awe of how you show up and how you show your heart, and that more will be revealed. And then I shared again the next day. Again, I knew I'd be teary. And I referenced a great meme I just seen that said, you are not lazy, unmotivated, and stuck. After years of living in survival mode, you're exhausted. There is a difference. And I really took that to heart. And I actually went on to quasi kind of sing the song Rise Up by Andra Day. That's so perfect for the sobriety struggle. And she says, you're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're going to walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. In spite of the ache, I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. All we need is hope. And for that, we have each other. And for that, we have each other. And we will rise. We will rise. And I really, really took that to heart. I really loved the part about for that, we have each other, because we really did have each other in my sober community. And I also loved her saying, I'll do it 1,000 times again, and I listened to that song every day, every night. God, I would continue to show up and share. And I would do this 1,000 times again, as many times as I needed to get sober and get my life back. And, I concluded that second share by saying, it's so important to make ourselves proud. And someone once said our superpower is the perpetual ability to restart. Again, doing it 1,000 times again. And I said, soon I'm going to have that sober spring in my step and I'm never going to lose that again. And you know what? I didn't keep it up from there. I soon went back to my pizza shop. And unfortunately, I started drinking again. I gave into that constant voice with my shop 50 yards from a liquor store, just saying, drink, 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 drink. But I continue to show up. I continue to share on calls, on my sober days, primarily. But I kept showing up and I vowed I was going to beat this thing. And it was just a month later that I did finally come clean on a sober call. It was with the head of my sober community, Laura McCowan, often referenced author, We Are the Luckiest. And she has now had 10 years of sobriety, and same thing. She was someone once in that same place. And I've always tried her, struggling just like us, as she talks about in her book. And I said, Laura, you're the last person I want to declare this to. But, I drank on Sunday. This was a Tuesday. I said, I drank on Sunday. I even shared on that Sunday as if I had it all figured out, as I often did. It was St. Patrick's Day. I went and met my family in Boston, didn't drink, thought it was good. And then I went home that night, feeling lonely, had to make a couple big life decisions about buying a car, rejoining my golf league. And I decided drinking was going to help me do that. And of course it didn't. Or at least I did not drink that next day on Monday, but I had no idea that might be my final day one. I did not share on a sobriety call, but I shared on Laura's call that next day. And it was because my friend Matt had called me that morning prior to her 8 a.m. call. Luckily, he called me early. And I said, I'm going to use Laura for some free coaching about the car decision, the golf decision. He said, dude, the problem with you is you don't come clean with these people. You don't tell them where you're at, and you need to do that. And I believe the topic of the call, sober serendipity or soberdipity, was about honesty. So I said, Laura, I wish I did this back in October, but I'm going to do it now. I knew I was not going to declare my day count to you till I believed it was going to stick, but this is my day 2, and I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to share, I'm going to declare my day count, and I'm going to come back next week and declare my day 9 on this very call. And that's what I did. I did what I call play the share forward, where I embraced the tension, embraced the fear every night at the shop, just so that I could share that night or the next day saying I made it through. And Laura loved that. She talked about how we all have different coping mechanisms, things like positivity, which she said for you, Cappy, had gotten you to this point. And whatever we did got us this far, but it was not enough to get us fully sober. It's just not enough. This is not an intellectual exercise. You've got to do the work. And it starts with honesty and community. And she said she was really heartened by my share. And she said she could feel some of that crumbling, some of that thinking that was just positivity alone was going to be enough to get me through, or that willpower alone was going to do it. And she said, that is good news. And that call was a year ago as of next week. Because I declared a day 2 on her call, the year now actually falls right on her call again. And I can't wait to give my acceptance speech. I essentially went on to give daily acceptance speeches ever since. That idea hit me on day 14, and people love it. I love it. And it's really accepting that I will never drink again. And I can't believe it, but it's worked. And I am now going to go on to greatness. I can't say I've got all that much of a life going outside of the home, but I'm doing hard things sober, whether it's inside or outside, every day. And now this coming year, I am going to get out there in the world and enjoy it. So there'll be more to come on my year of sobriety, the lessons learned, and what's to come. So as always, stronger, sober, and please like, share, subscribe, etc. Thanks.